I'm not gonna lie. I've lied to myself many times. I've failed myself many times. I've had dreams and not succeeded on them many times. All I can say is that whenever I reached a barrier, I just didn't quite give up. It's not that I was super energetic about coming back after hitting that barrier. It was just that I kind of was like, okay, kind of got up, kind of dusted myself off and just slowly got back to it. The first time this happened was when I finished my university degree in the UAE and I did some kind of work internship thing. And that was my first taste of like an office job, And the office was just very white. The desks were very white. It was a GIS company, Geographic Information Systems company. And I actually did really well in this module in university. And it's generally an interesting kind of area. But just sitting in that office, bright white lights, no vibes at all. Bright white lights, white desks, white walls, and, these very kind of, the corporate computers that they're all kind of the same and there's no personalization or whatever. It's just bland and kind of boring and vanilla, right? That was my first taste of, damn, I don't really like this. But I already actually had applied for my master's degree to do in the UK. I got into one of the best unis. And for the subject I was studying, the best subject in the world. But deep down, I was doing that because I was scared, I was scared of getting a job. I was scared of failure. I was scared of going to a job, just going to uni, just doing a bachelor's degree, like everybody else. But it didn't seem like that. We think that we know nothing and we're useless. But of course we know nothing when it comes to work because all we've done is study. So anybody getting a job like that, it's expected they won't know much and it's expected they're going to learn. But I didn't know that, and my negative self-talk definitely didn't know that. So I was scared of getting a job, so I went to uni because uni is comfortable. Uni is what I know. Uni is a path where you've got modules and you're still being told what to do, basically. So I went to one of the top unis and it was difficult. I was the youngest person in the whole class or cohort or whatever, right? People doing that master's degree, there was like 100 of us, and I was the youngest. Most people were like 27, 29, 30. They got work experience and now they're coming to level up. But I was just fresh out of uni and I really struggled, It was in that year that the first semester, I was like doing pretty well. It was a new city, London, a new experience. And it was hard work. It was keeping me on my toes, but in a good, challenging way. The second semester, I hated it. I actually got depressed, I think. I don't know, but I think that would have been the definition of depression. I also had this crazy thing, like me and my friend, we shared a room in London. Obviously, you have to share in London, it's expensive. People won't believe this, but I paid £600 a month for my accommodation. Rent included, food included, transport included, and not much else, okay? I remember one time I ran out of money and my dad was paying for all this. So I didn't want to ask him for extra money. I didn't have food. I didn't have money for extra food. There's just a few days of the month left before my dad sends me money. So I remember I had oats for dinner because that's all we had. And, oats are cheap and we had a big bag of them. So I had oats for dinner, It wasn't that bad, to be honest. It wasn't that bad. I'm not going to do the sob story thing. But I lived in London for very cheap. And we lived in this place that we called the Dungeon because it was an underground room. I don't know if you know those old, I think, Victorian houses in London where they just have like a slit, a window slit. That's the only light that comes into the room. It's about that high, so not much light comes in. And you're underground. And there was like a damp problem in the house, especially in the lower floor. And so there was mold. Now, we didn't know about this. We were just living our lives trying to get through uni and stuff. So there was mold in the room, on the walls or ceiling or something. And we must have inhaled it and kind of got poisoned by it. So we had this issue, I guess, with our metabolism where our body wouldn't generate energy, basically. So we would wake up after sleeping for like 12 hours. Like, imagine sleeping 12 hours. You used to sleep so early because you're tired. Then you wake up and I have a lecture, for example. I go to get on the train. On the train, I just woke up an hour ago, maybe. I'm on the train going to the lecture and I'm falling asleep on the train. I get into the lecture, again, falling asleep. And this happened for a few months. We were poisoned by mold or something. And I say that because that time of my life was difficult. Second semester, I got that poisoning. I was really struggling with concentration. I felt like, do I have like ADHD or something? I was really struggling. We had to do these summaries of different journal articles and then discuss them. And I did it, but I didn't understand anything, right? So I was doing the minimum to get by. And then the worst thing was when I had to do my thesis, because I went back home. I stopped renting that place in London because I didn't have classes or anything anymore. And we just had 3 months to do the thesis, 3, 4 months. And I procrastinated until out of 4 months, I took about a week to do the whole thing, right? This is the thing that helped me though. I was procrastinating on it so much, but I kept telling myself, I'm going to do it. I will do this bi'idhnillah. Like Allah will allow me to do this. Now, I didn't know how I was going to do it because I was really procrastinating. I was really struggling on it. I remember even it was Ramadan and I would not go to Taraweeh sometimes because I'm like, oh, I've got to work on the thesis. I haven't done anything. And I would not work on the thesis either. So I was in a really bad state, man. And I was just thinking like, damn. So even if I work hard on this thesis, I graduate, I finish, what's next? Go into one of those white vanilla offices? No, thank you. So again, I was scared of that, but I did it. Alhamdulillah, I finished the thesis. I was like, get out of my sight. I submitted it. I remember the last 2 or 3 days of doing that thesis, I didn't sleep except in 20-minute power naps. And I remember walking to the printer to print the whole thesis out to submit it. And I was falling asleep while I'm walking. But these are things you do, right? That was another thing that I just pushed through because I had it in my head with the thesis. I said, I'm gonna do it somehow. And the same with after doing the master's degree, that was a master's degree, I went and I started a whole other degree after that, a teacher training one, which again is well known to be very difficult, by the way. But in the middle of that, again, while I was finding it very difficult, I told myself, you're not giving up. You don't give up. There's no such thing as giving up. Even if this whole degree is a waste because you don't become a teacher, you're going to continue it just because you don't quit. And there's only a few months left anyway, right? The whole degree is like, what, 1 year, but not even 12 months. It's probably like 9, 10 months. So I had probably 4 months left of it. And I'm like, you will do it. You will do it. And alhamdulillah, those little phrases helped me so much. Just pushed me through it. Not to mention having good opinion of Allah. Always thinking that Allah will help me. Allah will help me. There's good in this. There's good in this. Always telling myself that. Which, by the way, I wouldn't have known to tell myself that if I hadn't learned little bits here and there. So there are definitely little books on the topic of like husn al-dhan and, even that book, La Tahzan, don't be sad. Amazing book. They teach you how to use the tools that Allah gave us to overcome these kind of things. I finished that teaching degree. Again, I got to dust myself off and kind of start again because I completed something that I didn't want to work in. I pushed myself through it, and I'm sure there are huge benefits of me pushing myself through these things and challenging myself. I wanted to become a teacher if I could work in the UAE or a Muslim country at least. I wanted to do that, yes, but I didn't want to work in the UK, and I kind of worked out by the end of the degree that I kind of have to work in the UK for a couple years before I would have any chance of working in a Muslim country like the UAE or the Gulf or whatever. I thought that would be my life, I'd be a teacher. I wanted to be a geography teacher, but I didn't even study teacher training, specializing in geography. That's just to get the government grant. They gave me 15K, £15,000 to do the degree because there's not enough teachers. And they told us on the first day, they said, do not think you're going to spend that bursary or whatever it's called, grant, on your living expenses. Don't rely on that. I relied on that. I paid for the tuition fees as well with that. So I paid 9,000 out of it for the tuition fees. And then the other 6,000 was left for me to live about 10 months in London. £600 a month. There you go. I did it, alhamdulillah. So all of this was me just getting myself up, So then after the teaching thing, what do? I got a basic job in the UK, a library steward job. And again, even that was like scary. I remember I got this Islamic, it's from someone who has some knowledge of Islam and a lot of knowledge as well in hypnosis and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I bought his program, which was like an audio thing, and you listen to it and you kind of like let it penetrate your brain. And one thing that it was telling, it like he repeated again and again, is stop wanting to fail. Stop wanting to fail. Stop wanting to fail. And I don't know what that did for me, but I was open-minded to it, to be honest. And then I went and got a job, even though I was scared of getting a job. You don't understand. I had 3 university degrees, 2 of them, actually all 3 of them, some of the best in the world, right? Like one of the best in France, that's the first one. And the other 2, the best in the UK in their field, right? But I really didn't know, I didn't feel up. I didn't feel like I had the ability to do a basic stewarding job, like basically customer service job. So I got that job and I got comfortable with that job after a few months of doing it. It was a very relaxed job. It was a job I was doing alongside undergraduates, people with no degree. But I got used to it and I was getting some money. And then I just was reading a lot. Reading, really getting into business, into marketing, into psychology, buyer psychology. And I started flexing those little bit of muscles. And that's what got me into business ultimately. I don't want to go through the whole thing. But what I'm trying to share is that it was especially when I was reading those books that I learned to turn off the voices in my head. And I learned to have counters and responses to those voices. Because I realized after reading and listening to a lot of personal development stuff, I'm like, damn, this is the reason people don't succeed in life. It's nothing other than this, really. It's just that their own mind holds them back. It's like wanting to drive forward, but your left foot is stuck on the brake and you're accelerating and it's not going anywhere. And I saw family members be held back in life so much by it. So I thought, yes, I do have a disadvantage in this area. I do doubt myself a lot. I do have a lot of negative self-talk, but how can I just accept to be average in life? I mean, at this point, I was even below average, right? But how can I accept to be below average? I need to be above average. You know, I wanted to live a good life. I wanted to make a lot of money, not a lot, but like comfortable money. I wanted to live in a Muslim country. I wanted to get married very soon. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to start a business if my mind is shackled? So I made it a priority. And again, do you know how much dusting yourself off and going at it again it takes when your mind is holding you back? But I did it, bi'idhnillah. And I would say part of it was having responses to those negative voices in my head. And a big part of it, though, as well, was relying on Allah, making dua to Allah, and having a good opinion of Allah. I remember I was like in the UAE visiting my family, had a few like £1,000 in the bank. I know a lot of people might not have that, but it's because I was living with my parents and I just made I think I was making £900 a month from my basic job. So I wasn't making any money though now, right? So I have a few £1,000, but I'm just spending it every month. And yeah, I remember thinking like, damn, where's my life going? Like time is passing by. I need to have accomplished everything I want in life by age 30 or even before that really. I think I was like 24 at this time. And I remember just thinking like, this is good. There's good in this. Like, am I not praying? Am I not going to the masjid? Am I not having a good opinion of Allah? In that case, Allah will hook me out. Allah will sort me out. I don't know how. I just have to keep going. And I did keep going. And alhamdulillah, eventually got a job, got fired. Again, I had to dust myself off. But then I started a business, started making thousands of pounds a month. More money than the job, either of the jobs that I had. And living in a Muslim country and everything I wanted really. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. But it did take a lot of feeling down and demotivated and just getting back up. And by the way, even the business journey required a lot of that as well. I remember once we were making about 17 or 20K a month from our agency. And then one of the clients was paying us £7,000 a month. And then he said he wanted to cancel. So that's it, like half the revenue gone. So it's those moments where you have to dust yourself off and get back at it. But I'm saying this is because it's a real life example and story. Not that I'm perfect, not that you want to be like me or you should want to be like me. But just to learn that if you see some of the things that I've achieved by the will and help and grace of Allah, then know that part of it with these things where it was just like, damn, we've got to get up and go again. This played a big role. And as well as responding to the negative self-talk. So I think you'll take a huge thing from that. And if you want to know the full system that I came up with, after obviously a lot of study, a lot of observation, and a lot of work on myself, I came up with this full model to stop procrastinating, take aggressive action, get beyond those thoughts in your head. And this video on screen right now, it explains exactly how to approach that. So you don't have to be average and you can get on with your dreams in life. Assalamu alaikum.